Hello, we are starting the second semester. Let's see, how many more semesters? Nine more semesters? No, 7 more semesters of your high school career. Congratulations, great job during the first semester. Excited to look at more history during the second semester with you and connect it to what's going on today and hopefully learn. And you think about our agency and making our world better and focus on that this semester and for the rest of our careers at Sage Hill and there beyond. Joke today. So the joke of the day is, what is a Hogwarts student's favorite subject? 1 million extra credit points to whoever gets this first. That's right, whoever it was. Spelling. Spelling is a Hogwarts student's favorite subject. Okay, I know you are so motivated after all of that to begin our studies of Rome and the Roman Empire. So let's begin. And as is our standard practice, hopefully, we want to look at environmental determinism. And as we have seen in the past, with early civilizations, whether it is advantageous for Rome. So we just finished Greece, and we saw that the environment, so here's Greece, the environment of Greece was not particularly advantageous to unification. There was fragmentation, conflict, wars with city-states because the terrain was hilly and disconnected the population. So in terms of Rome, where this is going to start, in battles against Etruscans and then growing territory, we see that Rome and Italy, this peninsula, this boot, doesn't have the division of environment. There are some mountain ranges up here, the Apennines, but they don't cut off the population from one another like these city-states in Greece. So there's more unification of population. There is also more arable land, so better farming. And if there is more land to farm in our historical equations, more land to farm, that is going to lead to larger population, more food, more people. I want to stop there and just look, but we're continuing with environmental determinism, and look at the Italian peninsula and its position in the Mediterranean. But before you consider that, I'd ask you to also consider India and its environmental determinism and its position where? In the Indian Ocean. Is it advantageous? I would say so. Why? Shama? Because it is between China and Africa in a vibrant trade system, and that being in the middle of this trade system is definitely advantageous. And as we continue to look at the map, we can also look at the United States. Is its position, global position, advantageous? I would say so. It's got obviously oceans, providing a defense against Europe and East Asia, but it's also in the center of these global trade powers, trade blocks. So there's connection, a central location to Europe and also East Asia. Okay, so let's always consider the United States too and its environmental advantages, which are significant. So using India as an example of being in the middle of the Indian Ocean maritime system, we see Italy is also in the middle of a trade network, and this is the Mediterranean trade network. Two R's, Mediterranean trade network. Now, it's it's in the center of it, which is advantageous. And the capital itself is in the center. We've got these central positions of the Italian peninsula, and that's important too for trade along this peninsula. So central location, both of the peninsula and the Mediterranean, and also of Rome. And your book also makes a really interesting point. Rome is inland, about 16 to 20 miles from the Mediterranean, which makes it less vulnerable to pirate attack. And there were pirates in the Mediterranean at that time. So that's also an important point. So environmental determinism, as always, very, very important. And where we're headed from the early wars with the Etruscans is conquering the Mediterranean region, the entire Mediterranean region at this date. Now, for hegemony is an important word. Just means the power, hegemony power. For hegemonic power in the Mediterranean, Rome had to defeat Greece, Hellenistic city-states, okay, and also the remnants of Phoenicia, Phoenician city-state, Carthage. So there are going to be wars with Hellenistic. Remember, this is after the golden age of Athens, after Alexander the Great, Hellenistic Greek states. But there are also significant naval battles with Carthage. And those significant wars are the Punic Wars, which are being fought for naval supremacy of the Mediterranean. And interesting, some of the more significant battles will take place over land and in Spain and whatnot. So to achieve hegemonic dominance in the Mediterranean, you need to conquer, you need to battle, and the Romans do that and are going to defeat these Hellenistic states and Carthage in the Punic Wars and achieve, again, hegemonic dominance. And this becomes a cosmopolitan region. It's very international, with North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. The crossroads come together, especially here, that we're going to see of three important continents. And we also want to take note that not only is Rome going to defeat these Hellenistic Greek states, Rome is going to borrow culturally. So this term, cultural diffusion, the spreading of culture from Greece to Rome. In what ways? Fashion, architecture, religion, and we'll look at those. And one other note that I do want to mention that is significant: when you do conquer a territory this vast, you conquer people, and those conquered prisoners of war can become slaves. So 1/3 of the population are going to be slaves. But the Romans are also, and we're going to look at this as well, going to give citizenship to people they conquer, which is important, to make them citizens, give them rights. Why would you do that? So that they feel more comfortable being conquered by you and are less likely to revolt against you if they enjoy the same rights and freedoms as other citizens in the Roman Empire. So this idea of enslaving, especially earlier on, and then giving citizenship to conquered people are going to be part of the Roman Empire. And then I want to look at, we're going to look at the patricians and plebeians. And so patricians, the aristocratic landowners, the elite; the plebeians, the commoners, and their struggle for political power in Rome, the conflict of orders, sometimes called the struggle of orders. But there are definitely class issues in Rome, class struggles. And so the patricians and plebeians are part of those class struggles that we'll look at. But I also want to look at these huge pieces of real estate, large farms called latifundia that are going to be owned by aristocratic senators, elite, and they are going to be important because lots of slaves are going to work on them. But one of the practices too with this vast empire is that you reward your soldiers for victories in battle. So you give them land that you conquer, colonies, outposts. And so Roman soldiers are going to be rewarded for their efforts with real estate grants, small farms for the most part. But what we're going to see is in times of economic distress, the elite latifundia landowners are going to take advantage of that economic distress and buy those small farms from the soldiers, which is going to lead to a landless population that is significant, and they are going to migrate to what capital? Rome. So you're going to have this landless population, many of whom are soldiers, and they are going to then fall into different camps of senators to support, and it's going to lead to further political division that we will look at. But we want to know economically too that the latifundia, the goal is to make money off of these big farms. It's not just for the growing food for a family or subsistence farming. It's to grow food to export to make money. So wheat, olive oil, wine. And another disadvantage about these is that doesn't feed the common population. Maybe the wheat, but it's made to export to make money for these large landowners. So not only are these latifundias creating a landless population, they're also not really providing nourishment for that population as well. And then lastly, another important part of Rome that we're going to look at is the Roman Republic. Voting for political office. So people would vote for senators or whatnot in an indirect democracy. As you recall, Greece, Athens was a direct democracy. So people directly voted on issues impacting Athens. And remember the asterisk. These are male property owners, not women, not slaves, not foreigners, but males in that direct democracy of Athens. Rome is going to utilize an indirect, didn't mean to cross it out, indirect democracy, which means you vote for people to represent you, to vote on issues. In the Senate, 300 senators, which is a lifetime appointment. So this is important for today. Today is an important day where President-elect Biden's electors are going to be validated in Congress today, presided over by Vice President Pence, and there's a lot of tension going on. There's going to be objections to different counts in Arizona and whatnot. So why am I saying this? Because it's an important political day in the United States, but because the United States government and the founders of the U.S., the founding fathers, really looked at Rome and indirect democracy and the Roman Republic as an example for a structure of government for the burgeoning country. Also, obviously, very influenced by Enlightenment thinkers too. But Rome is definitely going to be a model of government that they are going to seriously consider. So lots of really interesting things to consider with Rome in terms of social class, cultural diffusion, citizenship, the influence on the United States, and then obviously the lessons that we can learn, because Rome will be no more, will decline, and look at those reasons for Roman decline. So buckle up. the next couple weeks, we are going to focus